debut of our new segment, Who to Betta? Ryan, lay it out for us.
Who to Betta? We're going to take once a week. Today's Thursday, right? Yeah, we're going to take it every Thursday. We're going to take two players from the same sport, similar position. We're not talking LeBron, Jordan. We're not talking Ronaldo, Messi. That's boring. We're going to take some good comparisons, different sports. Honestly, we could do this in the soccer segment. We could do soccer here. We could do basketball, football, NHL, anything. But we're going to start off with some football here today. And who to Betta? Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Robinson. I think these two are a very good comparison in terms of running back styles. But we'll take a gander at some of their stats. Jahmyr Gibbs in 2025, 1,200 rushing yards, 5 yards a carry, 13 touchdowns, 600 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns receiving. The Lions' offensive line this past year, 12th. And then 2024, I thought I'd put this in here as well. 1,400 rushing yards, 5.5 yards per carry, 16 touchdowns, 500 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. And then on the other side for Bijan Robinson and the Atlanta Falcons, 2025 this year, 1,400 rushing yards, almost 1,500, 820 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns. Led the NFL in all-purpose yards. The offensive line this year ranked 14th in 2024. 1,400 rushing yards, 14 touchdowns, just under 5 yards a touch, 431 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown. So that is the stats and the numbers for Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs. So the question becomes, who to Betta between the two?
It's a tough question, being that those numbers are awfully close from year to year. I think Gibbs had it's a little bit of a better year last year, at least from touchdown perspectives. But, even this season, very similar offensive lines, very similar offensive numbers when you look at that across the board. Obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs was splitting some reps with David Montgomery. I think he got much less touches this year than what he did in the 24 season. I think this question comes down to who stylistically do we like better? And if that's the question, I think there are two very similar runners. But there's also just key differences about them. When I think of Bijan Robinson, I think of durable and I think of workhorse. And those are two things that he's absolutely been. He's someone that they can lean on. He is an explosive runner, yes, but again, I think his durability and his availability is something that has made Bijan Robinson what he has this year, and I think it's made him just an even better runner. But stylistically, you look at Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he's more of an explosive runner than Bijan Robinson is. I think in terms of speed, I think his initial quickness, his first step, I wouldn't say he's not as durable, but obviously he's had the benefit of having David Montgomery behind him. But Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, again, just two different styles, two different ways of looking at those guys. But again, very similar numbers as you had up on the screen. If you were to just give me the choice, choose one, I still think I'm going Jahmyr Gibbs, but I think it's close. It's 1A and 1B in my mind. Like, in terms of elite, it's 1A and 1B with the two. But if I'm going to give the edge to one of those guys, I think Jahmyr Gibbs might be the slightly more explosive runner who can create plays, even despite maybe having a middle-of-the-road offensive line. And we saw that a lot from him this last year. So I'm going to go Jahmyr Gibbs, but not by a lot. I think it's close.
If you were to ask me this question last year, I'd go Jahmyr Gibbs, but I'm going Bijan Robinson this year. I think that you lead the NFL in all-purpose yards. I imagine that's got to carry a little bit of weight, but the only reason I put 2024 stats in there was because to just see, maybe the growth and some of that. Look, at the touchdown numbers for Bijan aren't great, only 7 rushing touchdowns this year, but that's also the Falcons' offense. The Falcons' offense was disjointed a ton. They were mixing in different quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins, who, God, is he annoying. And then Michael Penix Jr. That's not even a Michigan State thing. I just think he's got an annoying voice. Like, Kirk Cousins just pisses me off. I don't know why he constantly gets put in the QB like Netflix documentary. Like, I skip his parts because of how
Kirk O'Chains? With his shirt off and his chain? Come on.
No, it's not that. It's just I find his voice very annoying. Like, he's just talking about a whole bunch of nothing. Like,
I like his humility, though.
I can respect his game. I can again, it's not a Michigan State thing, and it's nothing to do with that. because he's just annoying. Like his
My man drove
voice.
the van he had in high school until he was like years into his NFL career. I like the humility of him. I like that component, and he's a family guy, and he's all those other things. But yeah, from a voice perspective, the "You Like That" clip lives rent free in my head from his time in Washington. That's one of my favorite clips ever. But anyways, go ahead.
But no, I think Bijan is a I think he can do it all. I think he can run in between the tackles a little bit better. He can receive the ball, and especially now with Kevin Stefanski in a little bit better offense. Again, you got to see what the with the offense. You got to find out who your quarterback is too. And he doesn't. He's not had a functional quarterback in his time in Atlanta. I think he had Marcus Mariota for a second. Kirk Cousins was in there. Michael Penix has been in there for the last 2 years or so. So I think Bijan, because like we talk about the Lions offense all the time. We talk about it being a Lamborghini. And it may have downgraded a little bit this year just based on the offense, but the
Yeah,
Lions offense still puts up points. And whether you want to say that, oh, that's just because it's against bad teams, sure, you can put that out there. But the Falcons, they don't put up a whole bunch of points even when they play bad teams. So I think Bijan, I don't want to say
yeah,
Bijan is a Barry Sanders running back, or in terms of the situation they're both in terms of what Sanders had with Barry had with the Lions and Bijan with the Falcons, but Bijan's an unbelievable running back. I think he's the best running back in the league,
yeah.
and I think he's just better than Jahmyr Gibbs. And that's not a knock at Jahmyr Gibbs, because I think you could honestly put, I think if you could put Bijan, I think is a clear one, and Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon, like they're all close, but I think Bijan Robinson is a better running back than Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, well, and the other right, the part that you mentioned, the Lions' offensive weapons forces you to respect those weapons and Jared Goff and his
No one
efficiency in
respects
throwing the
Kyle
football.
Pitts.
Yeah, and
Shout out all the fantasy football coaches that think
they
he's going to be a
don't.
stud every year.
Yeah, and in order to set up the run game or a successful run game, you have to be able to run play action well. You have to force teams to respect the weapons that you have on the outside, whether that be Amon-Ra St. Brown, whether that be JMO. So I think Jahmyr Gibbs has benefited from not only giving up a few touches here or there to David Montgomery, which I think helps with keeping healthy throughout the course of the year, but you're also dealing with an offense that, as you mentioned, has more weapons and a quarterback who's perfectly capable in Jared Goff. So that takes so much pressure off of you as a running back to not have to run through three guys just to get 3 yards. Because again, teams can't stack the box against you, which they can't comfortably against the Lions. They can't do
And,
that.
and another thing that I want to put out there is another reason why I put up the 2024 numbers is if we go to 2024, the Lions offensive line was arguably the best offensive line in the league. I guess you could probably put the Eagles in front of them, but you still had Ragnow, Zeitler, Taylor Decker wasn't dead, Penny Sewell was still a dog, and you still had Glasgow, who wasn't a complete and total bleep hole on the offensive line. And you look at the Falcons, who have had constantly mid offensive lines, and he still put up over 1,400 yards on the ground and 400 yards receiving. So I think the offensive lines is, especially with running backs and quarterbacks, to me, I think those two are like, you have to at least put in the debate of the offensive lines, because the offensive line, Jim Harbaugh said the best. He goes, if I had to put a position group in the NFL, the best position group in all of football that doesn't rely on other positions to do their job, the offensive line is
Yeah.
number one. Because if
Yeah.
you're able to block, you're able to give your quarterback time, you're able to create open running lanes, the offense is going to function. And
Mm-hmm.
you can have Patrick Mahomes back there. You can have you can have Tom Brady back there for all you want. But if you can't block for them, or you can't have an efficient running game, it doesn't matter what you have. And you can throw all the wide receivers out there. You can have Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. You can have Calvin Johnson out there for all I care. And if you don't have a successful, efficient offensive line, you're not doing anything. So I think that's why you have to at least put the offensive line in this discussion, in this
Absolutely.
debate, because the numbers are pretty similar even when Jahmyr Gibbs has an absolute dog of an offensive line. So I think Bijan Robinson is the better back than Gibbs. But again, if you asked me this question at this time last year, I think I would say Jahmyr Gibbs. But based on this last year, I think Bijan Robinson is a better overall back.
Well, and if we're going by the numbers, again, you have to remember they're running a two-back system, and they were running a two-back system. So that means you're going to get about half, or at least a portion of those touches that you would have otherwise
Well,
gotten.
Montgomery wasn't used much this year. If we're gonna
Not
go,
this year, you're right, but you were talking about last year where the
yeah, last
offensive
year
line was,
you
and
could that has a little bit more weight, I would say.
probably make a little bit more of that argument. But no, like, dude, the offensive line is having a good offensive line makes everything go.